Imagine the final moments of life, not as a scene from a horror movie, but as a very specific biological process. The heart slows down. Breathing becomes irregular. The brain makes one last attempt to hold on to the familiar world. And it's precisely in this moment that some people report seeing a tunnel, a light, and their entire life flashing before their eyes. We've been taught to think of the end as a black box. Nobody comes back, so there's nothing we can learn. But that's no longer true. Modern medicine, resuscitation science, and studies of near-death experiences have given us a remarkably detailed picture of what actually happens to the body and consciousness when someone transitions from life. In this video, no mysticism, no comforting fairy tales, only what science truly knows about the final minutes of biological life, how it might feel from the inside, and why understanding this process can make us a little less afraid. When do doctors say, "This person has passed"? Intuitively, it feels like a single moment, 1 second before, 1 second after. In reality, the end of life is a process stretched across time. In medicine, there are at least 2 critical stages. The first is clinical death, the moment when the heart stops, breathing ceases, and blood no longer carries oxygen to the organs. From the outside, the person appears gone, but the cells of the brain and other organs are still alive for some time. If, within these minutes, you restart the heart, provide oxygen, and perform resuscitation, there is a chance to bring someone back. The second stage is biological death, when damage to the brain and tissues becomes irreversible. Even if you mechanically restart the heart, you cannot restore the person as they were. Between these 2 points lie several minutes that often determine someone's fate. And it is precisely in this window that many of those who later tell stories about the other side find themselves. This isn't about metaphysics, it's about a narrow margin where medicine can still make a difference. In most cases, the process isn't like flipping a switch, it's more like slowly turning down a volume knob. The heart grows weaker with each day or hour. Blood pressure drops. Circulation to vital organs becomes insufficient. Breathing changes first. It becomes shallow, uneven, sometimes occurring in bursts. Just before cessation, something called agonal breathing may appear, rare, deep, strangely sounding gasps. For observers, this can look frightening. But here's the paradox. Most often, the person is no longer fully conscious and does not perceive it as dramatically as we do, standing beside them. When the heart stops, the body visually stills. But at the cellular level, nothing magical has happened yet. Cells still have a small reserve of oxygen and energy. For several minutes, neurons, heart cells, and liver cells continue to function under rapidly escalating crisis. This is the window, the narrow biological margin where intervention still matters. The brain is the most demanding organ in the body. It consumes around 20% of the body's total energy, despite being only about 2% of body weight. The moment blood flow stops, problems begin, within seconds. The first areas to suffer are the most delicate ones. The cerebral cortex, where conscious thought, memory, and self-awareness reside. Gaps in perception may appear. Tunnel vision, a sense that what's happening isn't quite real. Then, with complete cessation of blood flow, neurons enter energy collapse. Here's a fascinating detail. In some experiments, researchers have recorded a brief surge of brain activity in the moments after cardiac arrest, a final chaotic salvo of cells attempting to function without resources. Some scientists call this the last wave. After several minutes without oxygen, cells begin to pass the point of no return. If the person is revived, but the pause was too long, the brain may no longer be able to support its previous level of consciousness. This is why timing matters so critically in emergency medicine. Against this biological backdrop, A portion of people report strikingly similar subjective experiences, known as near-death experiences. They describe the same core elements, despite living in different countries and cultures. A typical account goes like this. The person feels as if they are leaving their body, looking down at themselves from above, hearing doctors' voices. Then, a sensation of moving through a tunnel, a light at the end. Very bright, but not blinding. Sometimes, an encounter with loved ones who have already passed, or a presence radiating absolute peace. An important clarification. These experiences are not direct proof that consciousness separates from the body and travels to another realm. Modern neuroscience offers more grounded explanations. Oxygen deprivation, affecting visual processing, the release of neurochemicals such as DMT, endorphins, and serotonin, malfunctions in spatial orientation systems. The brain's attempt to construct meaning as normal sensory input collapses. Nevertheless, for those who experience them, these moments feel profoundly real and deeply meaningful. So much so that they often transform a person's relationship with life and mortality. Whether these experiences represent objective reality or subjective neurological phenomena, their impact on survivors is undeniable. This may be the most important question for anyone watching. Most people aren't afraid of being gone. They're afraid of the suffering that might precede it. The truth is, there are many scenarios, but when it comes to the final minutes, medical data and patient accounts converge on one key insight. As the end approaches, the brain often reduces the intensity of pain perception. In cases of serious illness, doctors use pain management and sedation protocols. In trauma and shock, the body releases its own powerful substances, endogenous opioids and stress hormones, that blunt pain and create a sense of detachment. People resuscitated from cardiac arrest far more often describe not excruciating pain, but a surprising calm, as if important decisions have already been made, and it is safe to let go. This does not mean the end is always painless, but it is important to know. The final minutes are not automatically the most agonizing moment of a human life. Palliative care research and clinicians like Dr. Atul Gawande show that with proper support, the vast majority of people can transition peacefully with symptoms well controlled. Many beautiful but inaccurate ideas surround this topic. Let's examine a few of the most common. Myth 1. Scientists proved the soul weighs 21 grams. This comes from a single early 20th century experiment. The sample size was tiny. The methods were crude. The results were never replicated. Today, it is considered a historical curiosity, not scientific evidence. Myth 2. Everyone sees the same thing. The tunnel, the light, heavenly scenes. Near-death experiences vary widely. They are shaped by culture, belief systems, and personal expectations. Some people see religious figures. Others see abstract light. Some report frightening imagery. There is no universal film that plays for everyone. Myth 3. Science already knows exactly what happens after. Science can describe, with confidence, the physical shutdown of the body and many aspects of the brain's crisis. But whether consciousness can exist independently of the brain remains beyond what can be tested in rigorous experiments. It is more honest to say this. We understand fairly well how we die, but we do not know for certain what comes after, if anything at all. And that uncertainty is acceptable. It does not diminish the value of understanding the process itself. It sounds paradoxical, but conversations about death are always conversations about life. When we stop treating the end as a forbidden black hole, it becomes a boundary we can face consciously. Understanding the process helps us feel less afraid of the unknown, better support those approaching the end of life, make wiser decisions about treatment and palliative care, instead of extending biological existence at the cost of unnecessary suffering. And there is something else. When we truly remember that our time is finite, many everyday trivialities lose their grip on us. The Stoics called this memento mori. Remember that you will die, not as a morbid fixation, but as a clarifying lens for what truly matters. Multiple studies, including research from major universities, show that people who openly reflect on mortality tend to make more meaningful choices, prioritize relationships, and report higher life satisfaction. The end of life is the one experience guaranteed to each of us, and yet the one we discuss the least. This channel exists as an archive of humanity's attempts to look honestly at mortality through science, psychology, stories, and culture. No cheap horror, no false promises, only respect for those who have already gone and for those who are still living. Disclaimer: this content is for educational purposes only. It does not replace professional medical or psychological advice. If you are struggling with thoughts about mortality or self-harm, please reach out to a mental health professional or local crisis service. Welcome to Memento Mori Archives, where we remember so we can truly live.